Hello, dear student. Welcome to another video in Schools of Linguistics. Today, we'll be talking about the characteristics of language. I need to remind you that I have not yet started talking about Schools of Linguistics. So this is just an introduction to the module. Okay, so at the beginning, we talked about what is language, what is linguistics, what makes it scientific, and then we talked about features of human language. And in today's lesson 3, third video, we'll be talking about characteristics of language. In the next videos, then we will start talking about, getting deep, talking about theories, the schools of linguistics. Concerning characteristics of language, to be able to carry out an accurate description of language, linguists have found that it is useful to delimit a set of basic characteristics that distinguish language. So below we have these characteristics. These characteristics distinguish language from other languages. I mean human language from, for example, an animal language or artificial language. Language is sound. So this means that the sounds which represent speech has precedence over writing, which makes the room for linguists to take the advantage of the fact that all human beings produce speech sounds with essentially the same equipment. Once this is agreed upon, accepted, it is possible to accurately account for the movement of articulatory organs. So this language is sound means that languages first were spoken, so it is sound, were not written at the beginning. So the writing system is very recent, okay, invented very late, okay, lately, I mean, but language at the beginning were spoken. So languages started as a spoken form, so people would speak, would use language in spoken form, and then after a very long time, uh, the were this invention of writing. So the language, in fact, is sound. That is, it is spoken. Okay, and this feature of language or characteristic of language helps linguists to account for the movement of articulatory organs. So if language is sound, and this means that it is produced by some speech organs, some articulatory organs, and this leaves the room to linguists to account for this, to see how language is articulated. And then we have another characteristic. Language is linear. Language is linear, so linear succession of sounds which are produced through successive movements of the speech organs. These sounds should be represented by symbols in a linear order in which those sounds are produced. So language is linear. So the sound of language, okay, are linear. And these linear, if we look at the speech organs, in our mouth, when we speak, so we have this linearity of sounds. Okay, these sounds should be also represented by symbols in a linear order in which those sounds are produced. So if sounds are linear, we should give them some symbols which should also be in a linear order. Language, when we write language, we write it whether we write it or we speak it. So it's either in the symbols or in the speech organs, so the speech sounds, there is this linearity of production and linearity of language. And then we have language is systematic. It is systematic in the sense that it is possible to describe it using finite number of symbols that can combine in a limited number of ways. Morphemes make words, words make phrases, phrases make clauses, clauses make sentences, etc. So it is not random. You cannot just combine words randomly and then you produce a meaningful sentence. Okay, so it does not work this way. Language is systematic in the sense that um, uh, it is possible to describe it using a finite number of symbols. So we have, for example, finite number of parts of speech, okay, finite number of sounds, okay, finite number of morphemes, etc. So these we combine them together and then we come up with words, and then we combine words together, we come up with phrases. Okay, so you see this occurs in a systematic way. Language is a system of systems. Language has different systems. So in language, we have the phonological system in language, we have morphological system, syntactic system, semantic system, and these interact with each other. So each one of these, each phonological system in language, morphology, syntax, semantics, they are independent. So these systems are independent on each other. So they don't depend on each other. They are independent, sorry, of each other. However, they interact, so uh, they interact and operate at the same time. So there is a system of systems. That it means the system of interaction between systems of language, which are phonology, morphology, syntactic, and semantics. And then we have another characteristic. Language is meaningful. That is, language communicates meaning. Every human being uses language for communication. So the production of language, or the when we produce language, we don't produce uh, just symbols of language, but we produce meaningful production of language. Okay, we produce something that is meaningful. We can, because we use it for communication. Okay, language is arbitrary. I have this mention. Sorry, this feature in human in Hockett's feature, Hockett's design feature. Uh, but it is also a characteristic of language. So this arbitrariness means that there is no relationship between a signal and its meaning. There is no signal that is, the signal is related to the meaning by convention, okay, but has no inherent relationship with the meaning. The word, for example, chair, if you write the word chair and the object chair, they don't, if you look at them, there is no relationship between them. So they just, the meaning and the signal is made based on convention. Language is conventional. So this again, people use language according to fixed analogical rules. So when we talk about language is arbitrary, that is, the signal and the meaning is conventional, here is what we mean by conventional. Okay, people use language according to fixed analogical rules. Once upon a time, they agreed, for example, to name an animal who has four legs, uh, for example, a dog. So it's fixed rules. So they agreed to name things their names. So they give names to objects and to anything. So it is conventional. So all right, I need to move on to other characteristics. Then we have language is a system of contrasts. This language offers a variety of contrasts at the various levels of linguistic analysis, the level of sounds, vocabulary, etc. So language, we have these oppositions of language. So languages, sounds, we have different sounds. And they have sounds, for example, if we look at the level of sounds, we have p and b. There is here uh, contrast in terms of voicing, for example. Okay, in vocabulary, so we have synonyms and we have acronyms and we have, so see, so there is this opposition, similarity and oppositions in language. That is why it is a system of contrasts. And then we have language is creative. Speakers of language possess the ability to produce novel sentences. Okay, so there is this creativity in languages. So we use language to come up with words that are never heard before. Okay, and then we produce sentences based on, of course, set of limited um, grammatical elements. Okay, for example, a sentence can contain, for example, a verb and adverb, noun, but you can come up with a very long sentence using only these elements. Okay, so that's why there is this ability of creativity. Languages are unique. Any two languages differ in a lot of things in terms of sounds combination. For example, we have sounds combination, they accept in different position, number of parts of speech they have. So languages are unique in the sense that languages have different number of parts of speech, different, for example, tenses. Like in French, for example, we have 12 tense. In English, uh, in French, for example, we have like 21 or something. So each language has, for example, a number of tenses, okay, number of parts of speech, number of sound combination, that is the sounds that come uh, adjacent, to each other. So there is this is a study of what is called phonotactics. It studies the sound combination. Okay, so each language has uh, its own possible sound combination, its own number of parts of speech, its own uh, number of tenses, etc. So that's why what makes languages unique. And we have languages are similar. Language may be similar in a number of ways. Okay, so they are unique. So in the sense that their languages contain so much different elements, aspects, grammatical or vocabulary or anything which makes each language unique, different from each other. But also languages have a lot in common. Okay, so language may be similar in terms of sounds, like mostly all languages have the sound p or b, okay, or d. So, but there are some sounds that exist only in certain languages. For example, in Arabic we have kh, we don't have it in English. Gh also, we have it in Arabic, but we don't have it in some other languages. So we have sounds that are similar, and we have sounds that are not similar. Parts of speech also, all languages almost have nouns. All languages have verbs. All languages have adverbs. Okay. All languages have tenses. Okay. Even though the number of tenses is maybe different from one language to another, but they all have tenses anyway. So sentence structure. For example, many languages start with the verb and then you have the subject and then the object. Some other languages start with the subject followed by the verb followed by the object. So there is similarity in languages, and of course there is uh, differences, or there are differences in languages. Thank you very much, and see you in the next video.